Welcome to Deep Dive. I'm your host, Kevin Benedict, and I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm really excited to be able to introduce Mark Banfield, the Chief Revenue Officer for LogicMonitor with us today. Mark, thanks for joining us.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. So where are you calling in from?
Right now, I'm in Santa Barbara, California, which is the headquarters of the company. The company was founded here more than 11 years ago. Today we have offices all over the world, but this is still the original HQ of the company, and there's still about 100 plus people here in the office.
All right. Yeah, I can detect the Santa Barbara accent there, Mark.
Oh, that's right. Very classic Californian here. No, I'm, as you can tell, I'm from London, England, from West London. And but I'm based a fair amount of time in the US. I spend quite a bit of time here. I spend the majority of my time in Austin, Texas. So Austin is where we have a pretty big presence, multiple hundreds of people in Austin, and growing very quickly. And we also have a presence on the East Coast, and we also obviously have an office in London with about 60 people in today, and also in Singapore and in Sydney, Australia.
Wow, you guys are spread around. So we're going to have to get into the details of that here in a moment. But before we do that, let's introduce you to the audience. So why don't you give us a little of your background, Mark?
Yeah, so I'm Chief Revenue Officer for LogicMonitor. My background has always been in technology, but my first ever job out of college was a company called Map Info, which was a geographical information systems platform. And spent many years there, sort of cut my teeth early in my career as a salesman. And I've always remained in sort of high tech. And in the last 10 years, really been involved heavily around SaaS. I spent about 8 years at a company called Autotask, which is a business management platform for managed service providers, SaaS-based. And that was acquired by Vista Equity Partners in 2014. And Vista are hugely successful private equity firm that focus entirely on enterprise software. Makes them actually around about more than 60 companies, and they makes them about the fourth largest software company in the world. And they are experts at buying software companies and turning them into world-class leaders. Autotask was acquired in 2014, spent 3 years, we tripled the company in those 3 years, Autotask, and then Vista acquired a company called Datto, which was a business disaster recovery backup capability, and merged Autotask in with Datto. And I spent a year there running the international business. I'd built and run the international business for Autotask for many years, which was about 50% of the revenue of the organization. And then I came to LogicMonitor, and I actually knew the company already. I'd known the company for many years, knew Kevin McGibbon, who was the CEO, and Vista acquired LogicMonitor in May 2018, and that's pretty much how I ended up getting here in September 2018 last year.
Isn't it interesting, Mark, looking back on our careers and saying, how did we end up here?
I often, you can join the dots up when you look back. It doesn't always make sense at the time as you go along, but when you look back, it normally makes sense as to I went from here to here to here. Yeah.
Oh, I've been in technology over 30 years myself, and there's been acquisition and move and on and on and on, multiple acquisitions. So you just, you always have to stay on your toes in technology, don't you?
Yeah, you really do. Yeah, you got to keep abreast of it and be on top of the trends and know what's happening. Yeah.
So talk to me about what an average day looks like for a chief revenue officer there at LogicMonitor.
Yeah, so the title says it all really. It's a revenue, it's sales and marketing, it's channel, but it's sort of a couple of key things really on a day-to-day basis. Pretty much everything I do and everything that my team does is focused on generating revenue and protecting revenue. So yeah, how do we grow our ARR, our annual recurring revenue? How do we grow our customer base? How do we win new customers? How do we enhance the way they're using the products? And then how do we provide absolute exceptional customer experience to them so that they're getting the most value out of the product, and then therefore we're retaining that revenue and they're happy, delighted customers. Specifically underneath that, a big part of that, my role is go-to-market strategy. So it's the sales structure, the sales strategy, the sales motions that we put in place. We sell to different types of customers. We sell into different types of markets It's the nuances of designing an organization and a motion that works for all of that. It's the marketing engine. So it's the demand gen engine here. How do we do digital marketing here? How do we build really compelling integrated campaigns that are aligned to particular buyer personas that we are targeting? And how do we then create a branding and a kind of like story around what we do that's really appealing to the wider market? And then it's channel. We have a direct sales motion, but we also have a channel sales motion. We sell through managed service providers who take our product and wrap that into a wider service. And then we also sell through VARs, resellers, SIs, etc. And then on top of that, a big part of my role and focus is driving performance. So in terms of setting the vision, setting the right kind of goals, aligning the entire go-to-market organization to those goals. So having sales, marketing, channel, all aligned to the specific goals that we're focused on for the company, making sure across the organization, everyone knows what's their role in achieving that wider goal for the company. And then it's about driving motivation, high performance, ensuring people are accountable for the things that we're driving in the business. And then the last part of where I guess I spend a lot of my time is global expansion. I mean, we're a US software company, built out of Santa Barbara, California, as I mentioned, all over the world now. And our product is extremely applicable to every market all over the world. We monitor infrastructure, core IT infrastructure for organizations, which is very valuable.
Oh, yeah.
And that's applicable in any market around the world. So how we build out our strategies to go and dominate this market in every country all over the world is a big part of where I spend my time as well.
Well, so what do you do in your spare time? It doesn't sound like you have any, Mark.
Not a lot. I mean, the biggest amount of my spare time is spent, I have 3 daughters.
Yes.
I'm very blessed to have 3 beautiful daughters. I have a 13-year-old Francesca, an 11-year-old Amber, and then a baby, Tugela, who's 19 months old. And then I have my wife, who's another beautiful woman called Kaj. And so most of my time spent with family doing that. I mean, I do other things. I mean, I was a swimmer growing up. I swam competitively growing up in the UK. And funnily enough, when I gave up swimming at 19, I've almost never jumped in a pool again because I've done it so much. I was sick of it. But I always maintained a fairly healthy lifestyle. I've done marathons. I've done CrossFit. My latest trend is because I travel a lot.
Yes.
To do things like spin classes, because I find that a nice, easy way to jump on a bike, get showered in 45 minutes and get a sweat on and then get on with the day.
Oh, that's brilliant. And that's important, especially so many of us that travel for our jobs. It's just hard. It's hard after being with customers all day or prospects or at a conference to get back and get motivated to get out of the hotel room and start exercising.
It is tough. It's easy to not do it. And I find, it's important to keep that up because it affects your brain, it affects how your mood and your motivation. And when you come into the office or you're traveling.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of.
Absolutely. So as a sales professional there, how have you seen that whole profession evolve and change over, let's just say the last 10 years? It's probably not the same as it was 10 years ago, was it?
No, I mean, it's amazing to me how much it's changed. I mean, technology has changed everything. I mean, social media has changed everything. The sort of the way that we buy things today in our own personal lives has changed, and it's impacted the way that we sell business software. So I think the buyer behavior is the thing that's changed the most. So so much of what can be done now in terms of research can be done online. So very often, before you're ever engaged in talking to a customer or a prospect about a potential deal, it's quite likely that they've already done a ton of research online. They've already made their mind up a little bit as to who you are, what you do, what your position is, where you compete where your competitive differentiation is. They've already made up a lot of their mind on that. So our job as sellers has become even more difficult because so much has been done before the sales process ever starts. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I think that there's just more complexity. And I think the reason for that is, and one of the things we talk about a lot when we train our sales organization is, you know, there's so many more people to sell to now than there ever was before. You know, I think that there's even stats about that. It's like a huge increase in terms of the number of people that are involved in any buying process. And the reason for that, in my opinion, is that if you think of digital transformation, every company in the world has become a technology company. So therefore, you know, once upon a time, technology was about ERP systems, accounting
Yes.
systems, CRM. Now, every company is using technology to provide services and applications to their customers. They're making use of their data. They're driving innovation. They have become software companies. I mean, you know, I think I saw somewhere a report that JP Morgan employed 20,000 software developers. I mean, they're a software company as much as they are a bank. And so therefore, there's so many more people involved in any kind of decision to bring in a strategic platform. And in our case, you know, we're a high cost solution, and we add a lot of value to an organization, but it means a lot of people are interested in the capability of what we offer. And there's multiple stakeholders. So that's much more challenging for salespeople today. So the sales professions become harder in that respect. And the last thing is it's, you know, to differentiate yourself in a sales process, you have to be incredibly consultative. You have to be very, you have to listen a lot, and you have to really understand, like, I think the most important thing is how do you link a technology purchase to a wider strategic sort of executive corporate initiative. And that's key. That's the job of a salesperson, is to really link to, okay, why are you buying this technology? And how does that link to the boardroom of what's really important to the CEO, the CFO, and so on and so forth? So much more complex than it used to be.
Absolutely. So the customers or the prospects are more educated, so you're getting them further along the sales journey and the sales process.
Yeah.
You better be equally as educated, and even more so than the customer. And and more people are involved, so that's powerful. And you know, you don't always think about that, especially when you're looking at LogicMonitor as well. You guys are covering technology and monitoring the performance of technology, and there's just a whole lot more technology. As you pointed out, every line of business has their own software and their own systems, isn't it?
Absolutely, which means that our buyers have always been, and probably for the foreseeable future continue to be, IT operations, who are the guardians of owning the infrastructure. But their customers, their internal customers, to your point, are lines of business. It's different departments that are running, maybe it's revenue generating services for their customers, and therefore inadvertently they're our customer as well. So they often have a say, they have a role in the process.
Oh man. So talk to me about the changing roles of sales and marketing. You know,
Sure.
in the past, they used to have their own kind of separate silos, and they'd blame each other for when sales numbers weren't coming through.
Yeah.
But today, that's kind of changed the whole dimension of sales and marketing, hasn't it?
It has, and part of the concept of this role that I have of the Chief Revenue Officer was really about breaking down those silos and bringing those two parts of the organization together so they're completely aligned.
Mm.
It sort of all starts, in my opinion, with understanding your buyers and understanding the persona of who you sell to, and making sure that you root everything you do from a marketing perspective and then from a sales process perspective entirely focused on understanding those buyers and what is their attributes, how do they behave, how do they buy, what kind of things are they looking for, how do they interact, how do they want to interact, and then about creating a personalized journey for them that's very specific to the way that they want to interact, and making sure that we, you know, get across our agenda and we stick to our agenda, but like really understanding that process. The second thing is, you know, one of the things we're very focused on is making sure that everything we do in marketing and sales are aligned from a perspective of understanding, okay, if we run a particular integrated campaign, let's make sure sales is completely aware of that, completely bought into it, and knows exactly how to interact with the customer through that campaign, knows what kind of content to push to them, what kind of material to give to them, what kind of case studies, what kind of like videos they need to see. and educating our salespeople, even at the the sort of first touch point of our BDR team. It's very sophisticated now, the way that they work on using sequencing. So they have a real sort of sequencing approach to know exactly when do they touch that prospect. They touch 24 hours after a particular campaign's gone out. What's the key messages to follow up on that campaign? What's the key points to hit, etc., etc. On top of that, the other thing that's really important is creating a feedback loop between the two. So it's really important to have sales always feeding back into marketing, which then refines our campaigns, refines our branding, refines our stories of how we tell about the customer success, and vice versa, feeding back into sales. So that's another thing that I think we've done well here, is driving that. The other thing I've seen very important, and a lot that's changed in these roles, is being incredibly content driven. People, be giving prospects really interesting content, providing interesting content, be it videos, blogs, podcasts, white papers, infographics, no matter what it might be, but being very content driven, writing blogs, in our case as a monitoring platform, how do organizations monitor a particular environment? How do they drive up SLAs in that environment by using a monitoring product? Being sort of things that people want to know. I mean, our buyers are very technical. They're searching for things online. They're looking for information, and we need to be seen as that thought leader that's providing them really valuable content. So those are the kind of things we look at in terms of why we have combined sales and marketing, and where we've done a good job of having the two work in tandem, side by side.
Thank you for sharing that. It's always fascinating to get somebody with as much expertise and professionalism as you, just sharing their world. So thank you for doing that. Let's talk now about customer success.
Yes.
So customer success, wasn't a word 5, 6, 7 years ago so much. Now everybody talks about customer success and the role it plays in kind of cloud-based subscription economy. Talk to us about the role that plays in your organization.
Vital role in our company. And we have a large customer success team, and they're entirely focused on delighting our customers and making sure they get the most value out of the platform that we provide them. I think the reason it's so important in a SaaS world, the dynamic of seller and buyer has changed because of SaaS. I mean, it used to be, in the software world, you'd sell a big perpetual license up front. The emphasis on getting value was always on the customer, because they spent a lot of money up front with a CapEx purchase, and then they had to then go and get the value out of their purchase. In a SaaS world, I often like to say, we're earning their money every single month. We're providing it as a service, and we're therefore having to demonstrate our value consistently. Customer success is a critical part of doing that. So we have a very well drawn out and very well documented customer journey from the day you become even from before when you become a customer, the way we walk you through the proof of value that we run, the way that we help you identify value from the platform. We help you build a business case in terms of identifying the key value drivers of what it's going to do in your business. So then moving into deployment, hand holding our customers through a detailed professional services engagement, where we certify key champions in their business on the platform, and then handing over into customer success. And our customer success team are highly technical, really understand every aspect of our platform. They take the time to really understand our customers. So rather than just talk generically about technology and monitoring and what kind of technology we're monitoring, they really take the time to understand, okay, what's the business outcomes you're driving? How is this transforming your business? So that we can advise them and help them get the most out of the platform. And then, of course, a platform like ours, we're releasing new capabilities all the time. There's new releases every single month, new capabilities. There's a couple of major releases a year, but every month there's iterations of the product. There's different capabilities that are being polished up. And making sure our customers understand that and they're getting the most value out of it is critical. So that's kind of how we're doing it. And it's a really vital part of our business, the customer success journey.
Brilliant. So talk to us about what the value proposition of LogicMonitor is. What problems are you solving for your clients?
So we talked a lot today about digital transformation. Um, the the importance of monitoring is, I'd argue, it's probably never been more important. I don't think there's a CIO in the world that doesn't think about having perfect monitoring. And the reason is because organizations are more dependent on IT than they ever have been before. The systems that they run are critical to not only their own internal employee systems, but also their customer-facing systems and applications. And having an outage or having a bad experience in an application or a website or any kind of interaction with an IT system can be catastrophic from a brand perspective. You imagine for any major brand, if their brand is really dependent upon the service they provide, and if that service is dependent upon the underlying IT systems they're running, then you need to make sure you're monitoring them in the perfect way so that you don't have downtime, so that you don't have slowness in the applications or anything like that. So that's what we do. We help organizations monitor their IT infrastructure better than they've ever been able to before. Some of the key sort of tenets of what we do. First thing is we're a SaaS platform. Most monitoring solutions are on-premise based solutions. They are, they were built at a time where most of the infrastructure that needed monitoring was in a physical data center that was managed by an enterprise. Today, the world's completely different. You have public cloud environments, AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure. You have microservices environments, Kubernetes. These kind of technologies, these type of environments are getting used more and more by enterprises. And the monitoring solutions that they might have had in place for the last 5 or 10 years just aren't able to cope with this level of complexity. So the first thing we do is, because we're a SaaS platform, we monitor more than 2,000 different technologies immediately out the box. And we're very strong in hybrid environments. So whether you need to monitor the network or the server environment, be that Unix, Windows, you name it, or even if it's the cloud environment or a Kubernetes environment,
Yeah.
we allow you to do that on one platform in a single pane of glass. So the first is that hybrid monitoring and broad coverage is the first aspect, which we're really strong at, and it's a real key part of our value prop. The second is our product's very extensible. One of the things that's a reality for organizations is their environments are changing so rapidly. From week to week, month to month, they're adding new technology, they're driving innovation, and therefore having a platform that can be extensible, that they can quickly be able to monitor new environments, quickly be able to monitor a different environment from an acquisition they made or whatever it might be, is critical. And LogicMonitor, because it's SaaS, it's a lot more flexible to allow them to do that. It can much more easily extend the capability of the platform. They can do that themselves through scripting, and we'll validate that in the SaaS platform. They can do it, they can ask us to do it, and we do that for customers. And then, of course, we have a whole team that's continually just developing the broadest monitoring coverage of any platform anywhere in the world. So that's the key value proposition. The last part of it is that we have an AI approach to monitoring. So one of the things that we do is, monitoring is great, but you don't want to have to be reactive all the time, to have to find problems. You want to be proactive. Our vision is to take problems away from customers so that they don't even have to know about it. So we have an early warning system that allows us to get to root cause analysis, find the problem quickly, and allows those organizations to resolve those problems quickly. So it drives down mean time to resolution. It ensures a better SLA on the services they're providing to their customers. And it means less downtime, less slowness, and a better customer experience. So we're really in the business of preventing issues and driving a better customer experience for our customers' customers.
Thank you for sharing that, Mark. So let's have you put on your futurist hat.
Yes.
And let's look 5 years down the road. Talk to me about, actually, I'm going to ask it from a LogicMonitor perspective here. How do you think the requirements for monitoring will change over the next 5 years? Knowing kind of what the trends are and digital transformation and emerging technologies, how do you think the requirements and what you guys do will change?
I think everything will become more service driven is the first thing. I mean, what organizations really care about is how healthy is my service. You imagine a bank, for example,
Mhm.
you imagine a mobile banking application, and you imagine the point where customers are using the application to do money transfer. Beneath that particular application lies a huge amount of different infrastructure. And as I just said earlier, it's becoming more and more complex. I don't think organizations necessarily want to necessarily even know or think about all of that underneath. They want a platform that's able to look at it from a service point of view. So we can monitor the overall health of the service, and therefore we know exactly the topology underneath, and we're able to identify the problem quicker than any other platform. That's something we're doing today, and we're doing for more and more of our customers. And I think that's going to become more and more of the focus for organizations as we go forward. Is they really want to get to a point where they're using a single platform and not having to rely upon multiple different platforms and go in one platform and out of another in order to identify where the problem is, what the problem is, and how to resolve it. I think what's going to happen over the next few years is they're going to look to vendors to be able to take care of that for them, so that they don't have to work out all the answers themselves. I think that's probably what I'd say is the likely development from a monitoring standpoint.
Absolutely. I think everybody craves the reduction of complexity. Everybody's looking for things to be simplified. So the more that can be monitored, automated, resolved automatically, all of that kind of stuff, I really believe that's the direction as well. Thank you for sharing your experience, your world, the information about LogicMonitor, and your predictions for the future. Thank you very much, Mark.
I appreciate it very much. And thanks for taking the time to talk to us, and really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Absolutely. I want to thank everyone out there for tuning in today.